Hello and welcome to another edition of Spotlight on Politics, where we discuss items of interest to you at the local, state, and federal level. Today we're going to talk about hazard mitigation plans, probably something you've never heard of, but pretty important as far as the town is concerned. And to discuss that today, I have a few guests here. I have Jerry Coogan from Southern New Hampshire Planning.
Hello, Al.
John Vogel, GIS Manager for the town of Londonderry, and John Trottier, Town Engineer from the Public Works Department. So, let's get started. And Jerry, first, I would like you to speak and tell us exactly what Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission is, because people see it, they see it in memos and everything. It's talked about at the planning board meetings and everything, but I'm not so sure the public knows what it is you do.
Okay, Al, thank you. Southern New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission is one of the 9 regional planning commissions throughout the state of New Hampshire. And members are basically town governments to city governments. We have 13 municipalities in Southern New Hampshire who pay dues and who are members of the Regional Planning Commission. We have a board of directors consisting of representatives from these towns. And our basic mission is twofold. One, to prepare a comprehensive plan for the development of the region, including roads, land use, water, etc., and also to provide technical assistance to municipalities in land use planning, economic development, and other matters. In this particular case, Southern New Hampshire Planning is assisting the town of Londonderry with the update of the Hazard Mitigation Plan 2015. We worked on prior plans, but every 5 years, we help towns update their hazard mitigation plan. So we're basically an extension of local government providing technical assistance and information.
So every 5 years, the plan is updated, and for that, this year we have a committee.
Yes.
Consisting of several people. I represent the planning board and I'm chairman, and we have Skip and John who represent town departments and other departments. We have police department, fire department that are also on the committee.
The building department.
We've been having meetings, and Jerry's been there, kind of guiding us along in the process. And you're going to finish a plan, come up with a draft.
That's correct.
And then we're going to have another meeting and go over the draft and everything. And
right.
Fine.
And then we'll submit the draft to the New Hampshire Homeland Security Emergency Management Office. They will review it, and if they find it acceptable, then they submit it to FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, who then reviews it and approves it, and then eventually town council will be requested to adopt it.
Okay, so let's focus on the word mitigation. Skip, would you enlighten us as to what mitigation means?
Sure. Mitigation refers to the avoidance of natural disasters. A hazard mitigation plan is referencing natural disasters, so floods, fires, storms, heavy snowfall events, and the such. Mitigation refers to measures that the town can take to avoid risk and avoid damage from those events. So in this case, it's taking a look at what the events could be, where they've occurred in the past, and where they might occur in the future, and looking to adopt strategies that they can be avoided.
Okay, so that's, John, how is planning for that of benefit to the average citizen in Londonderry?
Well, at least the town can plan for a particular event. If we've experienced it in the past, we can take, again, as John indicated, some mitigation measures. We can upgrade cross culverts and roadways that where a road might be flooded out, which we've done quite a bit of mitigation over the years, at least since I've been here, and since 2001, there's been quite a bit of upgrades that we've been doing.
Can you think of some incidents in the past as examples?
Flooding of Auburn Road is a good one. Flooding of South Road, where again those roadways are closed to the traveling public for safety reasons, obviously. So again, those are two big mitigation measures that I can think of off the top of my head.
Brookview Drive?
Excuse me?
Brookview Drive, the flooding,
yeah,
the
again,
homes there?
Yeah, but
I
again,
remember that over the years, consistently flooding, and
yeah.
that's now been corrected?
Well, again, those homes have been raised out of the floodplain itself. So again, that was really a joint effort between the property owners and FEMA themselves to elevate those homes out of the floodway.
So did FEMA contribute funds to that?
Yes, my understanding they did.
Now, so that, I think, is one of the other benefits of having a hazard mitigation plan, right?
Actually, it's
Because
a
you can apply
requirement.
for FEMA grants and so on to mitigate instances like that.
Correct. It's also a requirement during when the state does declare an emergency, whether it's a snow event or a rain event or a wind event, that is the question that they ask is whether or not you have a hazard mitigation plan. So again, it is all part of the requirement to obtain federal funds.
Okay.
I think I'll just expand on what John said regarding Brookview Drive. This was a situation where there was recurring flooding and recurring losses. So the money spent to elevate the houses, it was a short-term payment for long-term rewards. Okay.
Okay. Are there any man-made disasters that you have to plan for?
We've looked at, in this plan, we've identified the airport industrial area as a
Okay.
big part of town that has potential for the man-made disasters, for potential chemical spills and such. And in this regard, the mitigation measures we're looking at are communication and training for the emergency responders to know what's up there and be able to respond appropriately.
Now, I know in the past, because we have had an updated plan,
Mhm.
that we've successfully got hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants from FEMA and other federal agencies, which I suspect if we didn't have an updated plan, the likelihood of us succeeding wouldn't be that great.
It would be light, it would be very nil. Again, the hazard mitigation plan is a requirement for the receipt of funds. It's the first step.
Right, and I'm not sure either way, but I know that the federal government paid for the construction of Station 1.
They paid a big part of it.
They paid a big part of that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were successful in that because we might have had an updated plan. I would think so. So you as a taxpayer, the efforts of the committee in having this plan are worth your while, and they're saving you thousands of dollars in taxes, for sure. So besides the town agencies, what other agencies, and Jerry, you can probably answer this, what other agencies are involved in this?
Well, basically, the town tries to coordinate with its abutting agencies, and Skip sent out a letter to all the abutting communities in the area, telling them that we are working on the hazard mitigation plan and what it's all about, and requested input. We also work for other agencies like the American Red Cross, the schools, the town council, the airport. That's very important because the airport plays a major role here in the town, and also the Southeastern Hazmat Mutual Aid District, and the two waterworks, or the two water companies, Manchester Waterworks and also Pennachuck, are very important players too because they provide water to the town, and one of our recommendations in this update is to extend public water through those two agencies to other areas in town. So it's the town is the focus, but we have other agencies that are participatory.
Now, do other towns get input into this plan as well?
They have been requested to provide comments, so many times they don't, but they can provide comments if they want to. City of Manchester could provide. I don't think we've received any comments from anybody. We also have a web page on emergency management on the town website. If you go to committees, emergency management, it has all the, or hazard mitigation committee, it has the minutes and it has the agenda, it has the town plan or the hazard mitigation plan from 2010, and it will have this plan on it.
Okay, so let's go from day one when we had the first meeting. What were our priorities as meetings went along?
Well, the first priority was to look at what was done 5 years ago and to say what changes have been made. And the committee identified improvements to culverts, to alleviated flooding. It was mentioned how homes were elevated in a certain flood area. So we had to update all that. And then we went through a list and we updated what has been done in the last 5 years. And then we looked at the goals of the plan, and we looked at the state goals, and we basically reaffirmed the goals from the 2010 plan, and we added an extra goal about looking at resiliency. How can the town bounce back and be more resilient and effective in light of emergency? As you know, with climate change, we're getting more severe and more intense storms, more frequent storms. There's been a lot of research on that. We've seen it ourselves, going back to the Mother's Day flood of 2006, which affected the town. So that was an important part, is looking at resiliency. And I know the planning department will be looking at this in other contexts going forward.
Now, how do the town's emergency plan and the school's emergency plan fit in with the hazard mitigation plan?
Well, they're all interrelated. They're separate documents, but they're interrelated. The town does have an emergency operation plan, which is like a standard operating procedure to how to handle an emergency. Once you have an emergency situation happening, how do you respond to it? The hazard mitigation plan is trying to be preventative, trying to anticipate problems and see if we can mitigate the situation through actions like culverts or raising levels of homes and stuff like that. The schools, they have their own separate plan. The town interfaces with them, and that's one of our recommendations, is to work with the superintendent and the school district to upgrade their comprehensive emergency management plan. They do that on a regular basis, but that's something we want to work on in the next several years.
Okay, Skip, how does GIS fit in with the whole planning process?
Well, for the record, John Vogel, the GIS manager for the town. The
Well, I know, we have John and John, so we
No,
have to
that's right, so I
distinguish
adopted-
between the two of you. so-
Yes, I adopted Skip for today. It's my, but again, the GIS is involved because it allows us to take a look at where the danger zones might be in terms of where the wildfire incidences have occurred in the past or where the flooding has occurred in the past, and take a look at that in relation to where homes are built and where neighborhoods and where access issues might be present. That's all been mapped out. There's a series of maps that go along with the plan. Those maps identify critical facilities and essential facilities, and also areas at risk. In terms of critical facilities, we've identified the properties that are basically required for the continuity of government, and this is regarding the town services, the town hall, the library, the sewer pump stations, the water facilities, and such as. Those have all been identified, and then they've been looked at relative to the hazard zones, which again are the floodplains, wildfire, the traffic corridors and such, to look at where they might be in danger or maybe need to be mitigated. We've also looked at essential facilities, and that's more the human side of things. That's your daycare, your childcare, your hospitals and such, that again might be needed, might be essential in a disaster event. And again, those are looked at also in terms of where a hazard might be. Do they need to be mitigated? If they need to be mitigated, there's a potential that there might be federal funds available to take corrective actions. The next step, where we're at now, we've identified them all. We'll take a look at the value, take a look at where they're located, and then identify what measures might be necessary next. And that's where we're at with the plan now.
So we're at the point where the committee has identified areas that need to be mitigated, correct?
Identifying areas that need to be mitigated.
Identifying
correct.
areas that need to be mitigated, and I assume a step after that will be how do you proceed to get the funds or spend the funds to actually do the mitigation.
Correct.
So,
At the same time, Al, there's larger goals that we've identified too, including the committee has identified a wildfire risk in the Musquash, and identified
Right.
that it's very difficult to get apparatus out there. So there's potential for an access, improved access. We've also looked at
radio communications.
exactly improving radio communications throughout town. There are some dead zones that have been identified.
Right, in this day and age with the technology available in a town like this, we shouldn't have any dead zones.
Correct.
And the other question was backup power for these repeater or microwave link sites. So in an emergency, we would still have full communications and
Correct.
stuff like that. Were there any other issues? Anybody can respond to that one.
Well, a
Yes.
element that was carried forward from last plan was updating the school's emergency plan, working on a shelter plan if we had one, and also to extend the public water system to various parts of town. And again, the town would not be extending, it would be done by Manchester Water Works of the Pennachuck Water System.
I know our schools are identified as shelters for Seabrook evacuation. That's been done for years now. And also, we were successful in getting federal funding for a generator for the high school gym because that has sanitary facilities, toilets, showers, a nice big area there. And actually, that is now a regional shelter.
Right.
And it's been used several times as that. And now the old generator from the fire department has been brought up to the senior center. And now that's a secondary sheltering location. So we've been making some progress.
And I think it's important to note that progress, because it is significant progress. Again, the sheltering facilities have been established. They're run extremely well, and during a natural emergency, they've been opened and
And the alert team actually winds up staffing that.
correct. But at the same time, some of the flooding has been mitigated. Again, some of the Auburn Road has had serious flooding through the years. The road was elevated a little bit. The culverts were expanded and improved to mitigate that situation. Also further down on, is it South Road, Jim?
Yep, South Road was improved as well. I think one of the biggest things though too is again, just public outreach, which is a big part of this show, right?
Exactly. This is
Now
all
is the-
about public outreach.
Yeah, it's public outreach, and again, we always talk about again the Brookview area where again, there is a potential out there of flooding, and
Right.
as there is anywhere, if the road is flooded, you shouldn't be driving through that puddle. So I think that's a big part of the hazard mitigation plan.
Right. I mean, a very important part of the hazard emergency management plan is good communications, making sure that the public is informed of what the situation is, what the prognosis is, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, and so that they can follow instructions from local authorities. And that's a different plan, but it's related to hazard mitigation.
And I think we have reverse 911, don't we? I'm not positive, but
No.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
positive.
not positive either.
yeah, that's something we'll have to check into as well then.
Mhm.
In case you don't know what reverse 911 is, it allows a public safety agency the ability to dial your phone with a message by district, street, or whatever in case of emergency. So we'll have to check into that and see if we have that capability,
Yep.
because that would be great as far as notification goes,
Yep.
as well as using radio, TV,
Right.
and everything else. And of course, we have the emergency alert system on the state level
Mhm.
Yep.
as well. Well, that's good. Is there anything else anyone can think of, or another point you would like to get across?
Well, again, this is a public information effort. If any
Right.
members of the public have any questions, please contact yourself as chairman of the committee or me as a consultant, because we'd like to make sure the public is aware of this plan. If they have ideas that they want to incorporate it, please share it with us.
Exactly right, and our meetings have been open to the public,
Yes.
so. That's great. Anything else, guys?
We hope to have a draft available in a week or so for review by the town emergency management committee, and then once everything is fine, we hope to send it to state and federal for their review.
So I'm assuming that draft will be available online
Yes, sir.
for public. So it will be on the town website. You will be able to see it there.
And then, Al, on the town website, it'll be in the boards and committees section. So in the boards and committees, there's a drop-down menu. You look for Hazard Mitigation Plan Update Committee,
Awesome.
and you'll find the report in there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for being here again.
Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Al.
It certainly has. And now, folks, you're experts in what a hazard mitigation plan is and a hazard mitigation committee. And until we see you next time, keep the spotlight on politics. Thank you.